Let's start with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. What's the first word that comes to mind that can be said in mixed company?
A pleasant surprise. I think that's kind of how I look at it. I didn't know what to expect from this offense this year. I did, and not that it's like I'm looking at it and going, whoa, they're a real juggernaut. Watch out. But I think they've surpassed my expectations. I'll say that. Baker's been really good taking care of the football. When there's plays to be had, he's making them. And I think the other thing that just jumps out to me is I thought their offensive line was going to be, the thing to look at and go, ooh, man, he might be under so much pressure. They might not be able to protect it all or do anything that way. And they've been pretty good in pass protection. So that's where I'll say pleasant surprise. They're not an awesome functioning machine, but they make the plays when they're there to be had, and he's been taking care of the football, and they've been showing up at the right time. That's what I'll say about them.
I'll say encouraging.
Right.
And I say it's encouraging because here's the reality. We're 4 weeks in now. They've got enough film to figure out what they're doing well and how to try to stop them and how to put pressure on Baker Mayfield, maybe get him to do things he's not comfortable doing, things he doesn't want to do, jump a route, see a tendency, whatever. But 4 to 6 weeks is usually the sweet spot. New offensive coordinator, new quarterback. Now there's enough out there that maybe they can figure out, maybe crack the code and force them to do things they don't want to do. And can they do those things? So it's encouraging so far, but we'll see going forward. 3-1, first place, all alone in the NFC South. Jaguars offense, what do you say about them?
Well, I'm going to say, I guess the phrase I want to use here is really close, right? They're close. I see light at the end of the tunnel, all right? I do. I look at it, and I looked at the game against the Texans 2 weeks ago when they lost to them. There was some things to be happy about. I mean, they can run the ball. Their protection's not perfect, right? But they've had some self-inflicted mistakes and done some dumb things, whether it's an interception, a fumble, a strip sack. The red zone issues they had against the Kansas City Chiefs where, okay, they move the ball a little bit, but then they can't finish the job, right? And then, hey, they played an Atlanta defense last week. That's damn good. Damn good. So I know the results and rankings aren't where the Jaguar fans want them, but unlike a team like the Bengals or the Giants where we earlier were like, I don't see anything to latch on to here, I look at the Jaguars and go, no, Trevor Lawrence is seeing the field pretty damn well. The ball's coming out of his hand clean, right? They're just a team that hasn't quite put it all together with consistency through 4 quarters, but I think it's coming is what I'm saying here.
Sluggish is my word,
okay.
Just because the expectations were so high. We were led to believe and concluded independently that Trevor Lawrence was on the cusp of entering the franchise quarterback conversation and being among the top 5 in the NFL. And he hasn't played that way so far this year. There's just something missing with this team. They haven't built on what they did last year. And, even on Sunday against the Falcons, there wasn't anything that made you go, ooh, there's just nothing about the Jaguars offense that gets you excited. It just feels like it's like you get a new pair of shoes and you really like it and you put them on and they just there's something that doesn't fit right.
No, that's right.
And you really don't want to wear them.
Right.
It's like, I'm kind of disappointed. This isn't what I thought it was going to be. I just don't think the Jaguars are what I thought they were going to be.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm not going to give up on them yet, though. They are a young team. We know that. They're kind of learning how to handle expectations a little. There's talent still. And, hey, they're still getting a guy in Calvin Ridley. I don't care what you say, like we talk about all the time. You don't play football for a year. You can't just expect, I don't care who you are, you're going to jump in and just be the man. So I think he's finding his way a little bit. He's had some big drops and some moments here and there, right? But I don't know. For them, I think it's going to turn the corner. I feel like that. We'll see. That's what the future will tell us here as we go on.
Jaguars 2-2, along with every other team in the AFC South. Wide open. Watch the Texans. They were 0-2, now they're 2-2, and they've got a pretty damn good quarterback there in C.J. Stroud. All right, Patriots offense. as bad as it could get last year. What words come to mind? And this is one where I have to specifically remind you, no profanity when describing the Patriots offense.
Okay. I just it's just average. Like that's where I'm just what is there to look at and go, "Ooh, I like this part or that part or this guy scares me." It's just everything is across the board. Maybe I should say below average. They can't run the ball effectively. They're not great at pass protecting. They're having to rely on Mac Jones like he's Josh Allen or Mahomes. That's not a good thing. They don't have much firepower at wide receiver, right? I mean, they're just kind of lost in like mediocrity. I guess that's maybe the word I should say. Lost in mediocrity. It's just they do everything like okay, but there's nothing they do good at all. And I don't think there's anybody on that offense that anybody's scared about when they game plan for the New England Patriots.
You eventually got to the word that I was going to use, mediocrity. And let me tell you something. Mediocrity is not going to cut it in New England. We talked about this yesterday. And I know that Bill Belichick deserves respect for his 6 Super Bowl championships. I understand that. He's done great things. He's one of the great coaches of all time. But, and we've never seen this before, where you've got greatness for such an extended period of time and then mediocrity. Mediocrity cuts it nowhere in the NFL. Mediocrity will get you fired. You've got to, at some point, accidentally trip into playoff contention in your first 4 or 5 years, or you're done. Since 2018, they haven't won a playoff game. Last year, the offense was a disaster because of his decision to entrust it to Matt Patricia.
Yeah.
This year, even with Bill O'Brien riding in on the white horse, it's really not any better. And Bill Belichick's the guy that picked Mac Jones. See, this is the problem of being in charge of personnel. You get a bad quarterback, or at least a quarterback that isn't as good as we thought he was going to be, even though he was a Pro Bowler in his rookie season. It's just not there. And the offense isn't there. And Bill Belichick's not going to be there if this continues. So mediocrity is the key word, Chris, but that's a troubling word if you're concerned about job security in New England.
Well, it in a lot of ways or some ways kind of feels like it did like with Don Shula towards the end, right? I'm not trying to be smart or whatever, but that's what I kind of think of when I think about the Patriots and Belichick.
Chuck Noll, too.
You know
Chuck
what I mean?
Noll.
Yeah, a little bit like that, where you're just like, hey, it's not bad, but it's not good enough. And it's certainly not what it used to be, right? And that's kind of what I look at, where it's like, yeah, they're there, they're competitive, but there's nothing to look at to go, well, I think they can really turn the corner here and be damn good or special or be a real player in the AFC. I don't see any of that from the Patriots.
Don Shula had Dan Marino.
Yeah.
Toward the end.
Right.
Which made it easier
for
the Dolphins to keep going. The Rooneys were extremely loyal and grateful to Chuck Noll for everything he did to transform a moribund franchise, and he did single-handedly. He had help. Bill Nunn and the Rooneys who were involved, and they all worked together, and they found great players, and Chuck Noll coached them up, and they won 4 Super Bowls, and that gave him an extended runway on the back end. The NFL was different then than it is now. There is an expectation. The fans are impatient. There's too many different things we can do with our time. And Robert Kraft is not going to tolerate this. He's already said it. The comments are already out there. This doesn't require reading of tea leaves. All it requires is eyes, ears, and a functioning brain. He's already put Belichick on notice. I wrote about this last night. I found the question and I found the answer. He had every opportunity to say, Bill Belichick has earned the ability to stay here as long as he wants. If he wants to catch Don Shula, he's staying here until he catches Don Shula. He didn't say that. I want to win. It's important to win and get to the playoffs. If they don't get to the playoffs, barring some sort of a change of heart or, like the guy who gets to the door of the plane with the parachute on and decides not to jump. Maybe Robert Kraft won't go through with it. The idea of being the one to push Bill Belichick out of the plane. But it's already out there. He's already on notice. And this offense, mediocre, not nearly good enough to satisfy the standard of the New England Patriots. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.